So, this is the first day of our student-led virtual summit here at Students for Innovation. And this is the first time we're hosting our own virtual summit. So, we're really excited for this week-long summit with um, panelists and speakers speaking every day about different topics on how to bring education into the classroom. And we'll talk a little bit more about the summit later. But first, I want to talk a little bit about who we are. So, what is Students for Innovation? So, do you want to explain how we started?
Yeah, so Students for Innovation is an organization focused on advocating for innovation in the classroom through presentations, resources, and trainings. Put simply, we as students believe that it's important to innovate for educational change in our own classrooms and work with educators ourselves to make a difference. We originally started Students for Innovation by reaching out to Miss Winnick last year. Amia and I both reached out in separate ways. I reached out through a form on her website, and Amia will tell you how she reached out. But through constant collaboration and conversation with Miss Winnick, we decided to form Students for Innovation, where we connect students with educators across the U.S. and have conversations about what new technology can mean for our world and what to actually do about it.
Exactly. And before we continue, I just want to introduce myself, and then Soham, you can introduce yourself as well. So, my name is Amia, and I'm currently a 10th grader at Ridge High School in New Jersey. And like Soham has said, I've been passionate about AI advocacy and education for the past few years, and it's been a great experience and journey starting Students for Innovation, and hopefully, we will be expanding it in the coming future.
Thanks, Mia. I'm Soham. I'm a current high school senior going off to college next year. And I'm based out of North New Jersey, go to Dwight Englewood School. And I've been also very passionate about AI education literacy, working in my school, my district, and then my state to create real change.
And I want to take a moment to congratulate Soham because he actually just committed to Harvard, and it's been an
Woo!
amazing opportunity to see him grow with Students for Innovation and now to see where he's going to go in his future. So we're really excited for you, Soham.
Thanks, Mia. I really appreciate that.
Okay. So now, a little bit more about Students for Innovation. Like we talked about, our goal is to advocate for innovation in education, and we want to make changes in how we think as students. We believe education should change. And so we take all the issues or problems with education as we see it today, and we try to challenge this using different innovational approaches. So, what have we done? So, I'm going to talk a little bit about conferences because, like today, like this virtual summit, Soham and I, as well as our fellow peers, have presented at many different national conferences, especially some of the big ones were at NICE or ISTE, the ISTE pre-summit last year. And this year, we're actually going to be presenting at the live ISTE conference in San Antonio in June. So we're very excited for that. So, do you want to talk about the student assistance?
Yeah, we've also directly worked with students in many different ways. For this particular conference, for the last month and a half, we've worked with numerous students to cultivate and create innovative presentations that range from not just AI, but to financial literacy, to diplomacy, to coding in the classroom. And we've worked to really empower the student voice across the country. And most importantly, we've worked to empower student voice in ourselves and also in our younger students like Kent and Vera here, who get a platform to talk about their experience with AI, with education on a larger scale, and talk about how they personally have experienced innovation in the classroom.
Exactly. And in addition to empowering students, like Soham talked about, we also work to help educators and support educators in their journey because we know that being a teacher isn't easy. As students, we can ask for all of these changes, everything that we want to change. But it's also hard to be an educator and make that balance of innovation, but also following guidelines that schools set. So we think that providing educator support is also extremely important, which is why we hold things like this summit to help educators and explain what we want. And we also create resources for educators to use that we will talk a little bit more about later. So now, what have we done as students? So I'll start with my story. So at my school, I actually one day was talking to my assistant principal, and we started talking about artificial intelligence and how our school is trying to deal with the new advent of artificial intelligence. And I was hearing that a lot of what my school was trying to do is just ban, block, or try to get rid of using AI in education because they were afraid of what AI could do to students' learning. But as a student and as a student advocate for AI, I know the benefits of AI in education that we will continue to talk about later today. So I actually worked with my assistant principal and I did a professional development session at my school with four other teachers at my school. And this was really powerful because it gave me the opportunity to talk to my own teachers. And then the next day at school, I would see my teachers try out these techniques that I had told them the previous day and actually try to implement what they learned from my presentation, which showed me how I was really making change. And it wasn't just a presentation, but it was actually something that drove change. And then after that, I was invited to attend an AI task force committee with the Board of Education of my district. And there I was able to work with these board administrators to actually work on that document that was the AI district policy, the district AI policy throughout my district. And I feel like that kind of solidified the fact that I was really making change. And so now my goal is to not only continue to make change in my school, but also empower other students in different schools around the country, around the world to do the same and advocate for the change that they want to see.
So Mia's done a lot, and I want to share a little bit about my story as well. I got really interested in AI education policy in my sophomore year after the launch of some large language model type tools, and I was very interested to see in what I as a student could do to make an impact on my school. So I first started with running workshops for teachers and students to get updated on technology. That quickly blossomed into presentations for town mayors and board of ed administrators on like general topics like what is AI, how do we use it, basically bringing people up to speed on the novelty of large language models. And then in my own school, I became involved with shaping AI policy and particularly coming up with assignment by assignment guidelines instead of one overarching one size fit all AI policy, which was quite powerful. So I've had a really interesting and a long tailed journey, and kind of the capstone of that was speaking at the NICEGate conference in the fall with a TED style talk. And as the only student in the entirety of the event, in the entirety of the conference, I will add as well, which was quite impactful. So altogether, I've had a great experience, and I think Amia and I can both say that working on AI education policy in our own schools has really made a difference for ourselves, but also for the people around us. And it's quite an amazing experience as a student to be able to advocate for real educational change.
Yeah, that really sums it up perfectly. So now let's go to you as a student or a teacher or an administrator. What can you do and what can you do with Students for Innovation to help you? So let's start with as a student. A student or any of the students that an educator believes are passionate about innovation in the classroom, you can work with Students for Innovation to start a chapter at your own school. And so how you can do this is by going to the Students for Innovation website and just putting in your email for starting a new chapter at your own school. And we will provide you with the resources, the help, the mentorship to create change in your own community. And so, what you can get out of this, well, first of all, and most importantly, you'll be able to make true change in your own community and you'll be able to see that change happen. And then you'll also have the opportunity to be a leader and take part in leadership roles. which is a great experience as a high school student or even younger, as a middle school student or elementary school, like the students we're going to introduce to you later. And then, like I mentioned, we from the Students for Innovation team will provide you with constant support, and we will be hosting monthly webinars to talk to all the chapters around the country and hopefully eventually even around the world. So, this is a great way to get involved as a student or even as a teacher, encouraging your students to start a chapter at your school. Soham, do you want to talk about joining the team?
Yeah, so as I'll be off to college next year, we are looking for more capable students like Amia to take charge and to really support the Students for Innovation initiative. So if you're a student, you can fill out the form on the website. And then if you're an educator, it would really mean the world to us if you could recommend another student or someone capable who could fill the roles that are going away and take new initiative this year.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so for our entire summit, we want to extend a thank you to School AI because they are sponsoring us and they have been our sponsor and they're sponsoring us to fly to the ISTE summit in June in Texas. And they're sponsoring us for our hotels and flight and everything. So we really want to thank them for that and their ongoing support throughout this process. And we also want to thank Miss Winnick for her support and helping all of us as students and giving us a platform for our voice and to help us through this process of working at Students for Innovation and then creating this summit that we are holding this week. So, with that, we're going to start the second segment of today's presentation. And we're going to talk about empowering schools to embrace AI. And so, before we get into it, I want to introduce a few special guests that we have with us today. They're elementary school students that are so eloquent at speaking and so passionate about using AI in schools that we're really excited to ask them questions and have them join us presenting today. So let's start with Kent. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Kent, and I really love AI, and I think that we should start using AI in our schools. And I really got into AI, so that's how I came here with Miss Winnick.
Awesome. What about you, Ocean?
Hi, my name is Ocean, and I love AI because it's like really helpful.
Awesome. And Vera?
I'm Vera, and I think AI is like really important to use in schools because it can like help you like get ideas for projects and stuff.
All right. So let's get started. I'm going to start by asking the students a question. So, why is AI literacy important? Vera, do you want to start with that?
It's important because it can help you a lot. Like in school, we use it to help us like get ideas for like stories or to improve our writing or to generate pictures.
Yeah, that's great. Kent, what about you? Why do you think AI literacy is important?
Well, I think AI literacy is very important because it could help you in the future, like getting information from something. Like if I want information about a celebrity, I could ask AI.
Exactly. And Ocean, do you want to add to that?
Like I think AI literacy is important because like you should always learn about AI because if you don't learn, then you could like forget like the real world and just keep being on AI.
Exactly. Yeah. And I really agree with that because I think teaching students AI literacy allows them to learn how to use AI in a way that's responsible before they go off into the real world, like Ocean said. Soham, do you want to add to that?
Of course, yeah. I think the reason why AI literacy becomes super important is because what happens when in like 5, 10 years when AI tools are ubiquitous. If we don't teach about AI tools and if we don't make that the norm, then individuals who have had access to AI from a young age will be advantaged compared to individuals who don't have access to AI. And I think AI literacy should be standardized and normalized so every individual is equal when it comes to their AI knowledge to make sure the future is equitable and to make sure that people have equal access to technology that'll make them better. Amia, before we go on, do you want to give your perspective as well?
Yeah, sure. So like Ocean was saying and like you were saying as well, AI is a really big part of today's world. And I just think that it's so important for schools to teach students about AI right now so that when they get into the real world, they know how to use it properly and what they should and shouldn't use it for.
The next question is, what age should you start using AI? It's a great question. Anyone want to go first? Kent.
So for my experience, I think that kids should be able to use AI when they could talk. So maybe like 3, 2 or something. And they could use some AI website like or source or something like Siri. You could just tell them to do teach them something or some uh teach them something, and yeah, you'll learn from AI. So I think people should learn when they can speak.
Yeah. Vera, you want to continue?
I think they should start at when they're like kindergarten or first grade, because like before that they should know what it is, like that it's like a real thing, but they shouldn't like use it because then they can be like, oh, now AI can do everything for me. I don't really have to learn to do things myself. So like they should learn those things first and then they can start using AI.
And then Ocean?
So I think the age you should start using AI is like maybe maybe around 7, because if you like if you learn it much younger, it could be like hard. I mean, you could learn it like at like really young, but then you would have to take it in really small steps. And if you take it if when you're older, like 7, then it's going to be easier to understand like how to use it.
Hmm. Amia, what do you think?
Yeah, I think as you can see, there's so many different perspectives on this question, even among these three students. But my belief is that there really shouldn't be like a minimum age where a student should start using it at that age. But kind of like what Ocean was saying is it's about the way AI is integrated. So maybe at a really young age, they use it in small amounts or they see others using it and they learn from that. And then as they get older and older, they start experimenting with more and more AI and they're given more tools, but they're also able to learn basic foundational skills that they need from that young age. So I feel like no matter how old somebody is, there should always be a mix of using AI and doing things on their own so that students get the best benefit out of that.
In the Ocean, what's the difference between your old school and your new school in that?
So the difference between my old school and my new school is like my old school was like it taught the same stuff, but I didn't really notice it taught the same stuff because it taught it in a different way. We took like 30 minutes maybe each day inside and the rest was outside. And we
Hmm.
learned almost everything outside. We did all that. But in this school, I like when I did like math and foundations, I actually noticed that at my old school I actually was doing that stuff, just not the same way.
Hmm.
No, I didn't use any technology at all, actually. So, like, I didn't use it all because, like, we just used the outside to do stuff, not really the inside that much. So,
Oh, so it was all like outdoor learning. It was a little different than AI stuff.
yeah.
Interesting.
What about you, Soham? What's your perspective about when students should start?
Yeah, I used to think that there should be hard age limits, and I think my perspective has changed as time has progressed, and as I've interacted with students like Kent and all the others who have used AI at a younger age. And I think what really, really matters is AI can be used at any age as long as the guardrails and processes for creating uh, AI use and curating AI use is specific to the age group. And I think there's no age you have to start or age you should start, but there are certain products that are not the best for certain age groups. So what really matters is the kind of product, the guardrails on that product, and the use case.
So now I want to talk a little bit about who uses AI right now. And it might be actually very surprising to a lot of educators to find out that only around 50% of students have actually even used generative AI. And I feel like this might be surprising because a lot of us may think that this number might be larger. And so what this means is that we can't go into a topic and advocating about AI with the assumption that every student has used AI or the assumption that no students have used AI. So when we teach students with AI, we need to have that broad mindset that there could be various levels of familiarity with AI in the classroom of students that we're looking at as an educator.
And what's even more interesting is the disparity at which students are actually using AI in terms of use case. Because students use AI in various and vitally different ways. A lot of teachers and educators might automatically assume AI is being used for cheating. But as you can see by both these models and graphs on the screen here, a lot of AI use is creative, is brainstorming, is information retrieval. And it's very hard to make a distinction of whether that level of AI use is necessarily bad or even if it's good. It just is. A lot of students use AI in ways that are equivalent to like Google search or to a grammar engine or to a helpful tutor or a helpful friend. And that is a very different use case than the typically explained cheating phenomenons that we see on the internet. And that's very important to understand.
So, how do we use AI? So, I think everybody uses AI in different ways right now, and I'll start with myself. So, as of right now in my school, we're kind of like tipping over that balance of being allowed to use AI, as I was talking about earlier. So, a lot of my teachers don't explicitly say, "Oh, you can use AI," and it's kind of more a mix. And some teachers say that you can't use AI at all, and some just don't talk about it. So for me in school, in a lot of my classes that say I can't use AI for assignments, I mostly use AI to help me study. And in fact, even as AP exams are coming up, I've been using AI a lot to help me grade my free response questions and help me understand what I can do better. And so AI is a great tool for studying, but that comes outside of the classroom. And what we want is to use AI more in the classroom and talk about how teachers can involve AI more in the process of whether it's writing assignments or public speaking or even in the STEM fields. Vera, what about you? How do you use AI? I know you mentioned a little bit about pictures earlier. Do you want to talk about that?
So we usually use AI at school to, like, right now we're doing like a unit on water, and we used Perplexity to, like, we looked up a country and we did like, and then it would tell us some like oceans or rivers or lakes in that country, and we could research about them.
Awesome. Yeah. What about you, Ocean? Have you used AI a lot recently and how?
So we use AI as like we use the AI to like help us with words because sometimes we have like an AI and if we ask it the it's called school AI. It's one of the school AIs. It's like it tells us what words mean. Um so there's also ones that like we did a bunch of writing. So we once we were done with like a section, we would put it into a different AI, that still school AI but different one, and it would tell us if we did like bad grammar or something, or like if the or for math ones, it like just tells us like it doesn't tell us the answer, it gives us like math problems that help us solve the answer.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you're able to use it for all these subjects. That's exactly what we want. And so Ocean mentioned a little bit about School AI, and I mentioned earlier that they are one of our sponsors. So we've worked a lot with their worked on a lot with it, with their technology. And what's really great about School AI is it allows you to build your own spaces as the teacher that makes a student, when they're using that space, it's narrowly confined to just what the teacher wants that assignment to be about. So if a student tries to redirect it to some other topic, the AI is going to go back to the objective of the assignment and always stick to that, which I think is really great when we're talking about kind of guardrails with using AI at schools. So, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think we're very thankful for School AI in this process, and we're really excited throughout the course of the next 5 days to show you some of the really cool things we've worked on with them.
Yeah. Vera, do you have something?
I like School AI because it's like well, one, because it's basically having a conversation with you because you can like make it speak. Also, there's not just like one website. It's like a lot of different ones. Like one of them can help you with like your math, one of them can help you write stories, and it's not just like one thing where you ask it everything that you want.
Exactly. That's great. Sorry. Okay, so now we want to talk a little bit about how equal access to large language models can hurt or help students. So right now, schools that aren't teaching students how to use AI and AI literacy in high school are actually putting their students at a disadvantage because these students, when they graduate high school, they're going to know less about how to use AI and how to be successful in the real world than other students who have been taught this. So our goal as students for innovation and advocating for AI in education is to level this playing field and promote AI in education to allow students to have equal access to LLMs. But there could be problems with a digital divide where there are some areas or some schools that don't have access to the tools, and that could be another problem. So, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, we talked about this earlier, which is that if we do not uniformly increase access to AI education literacy for students across the US, then certain students will end up knowing more, certain students will end up knowing less, and that will exacerbate the already existing inequality that exists in parts of this country. And it's very important that we spread AI education literacy to everyone because it's not only just a level setter. AI education literacy and AI tools can be a really great way to support groups and communities who are already disenfranchised and need more support, because AI tools, at least in our eyes and Students for Innovation, can be a great way to promote self-learning, self-discovery, and really to work and develop oneself much faster than possible before. So we believe that if you do not talk about AI with students across the US, you are putting certain groups at a disadvantage, right out the gate. And that's very, very important.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so now I want to ask Kent, what do you think about misinformation and why do you think students should learn about it?
Well, for me, if you get misinformation, I mean, you probably know what it means already. It's mis and information. It means not correct information. So if you get misinformation, you won't learn the right thing and you won't get the right information. And if you share it to everyone or make a website about it, you could teach everyone the wrong thing, and there will be lots of things happening like 1 plus 1 is 3, turtles can fly, or stuff that could happen. So you have to keep in mind about the misinformation, and sometimes in AI you have to take out the sources that it gives you, like Wikipedia or YouTube or all those sort of things. So that's why I really like using Perplexity. That it's my favorite AI chatbot. Just telling you, everyone, because you could take out all those incredible sources.
Yeah, that's great. Vera, I know you've had your hand up. Do you want to add to that?
Also, you can, like, if there's misinformation, like I told you, like the water that we were researching about different different like lakes or rivers in like countries. And so then I went on Perplexity, and I don't know why, but like when I was looking at the sources, it wasn't letting me like take them out. And that's why I got like some pictures that like weren't real. Like there was a picture of, I think it was like a parrot, but it's like a pretty cold place. So,
Okay, yeah. Ocean, do you want to talk a little bit about misinformation as well?
Yeah, so it's like we were researching frogs for a long time, and one day when we were all searching on Perplexity, we all looked up like what um like never mind. Like what we each got a state that AI chose for the thing, and then we each searched up like the frog that was for that state. And when my friend asked the AI about his frog, it said this frog does not exist. Because why you should learn about misinformation is because like if you don't, then if it said this frog doesn't exist, you'd be like, oh, well, the project's over. Doesn't exist. And then for bias, it's like you have to train the AI because sometimes it just like there was this AI and it said one of the things you can do to help it like train it is like say be specific somebody just said like just a football player, but it didn't, it showed like soccer and football, but because like it was it was like different because it gave a lot of the one where you throw the ball and less of the one where you kick the ball. And so my friend Jackson, he said, oh well, you have to be specific, so you should have said if you wanted this, you should have said American football instead of just football.
Yeah, that's a really good example. Yeah. So exactly, that's why you should be very careful when you use AI. Okay, so now we want to talk a little bit about the idea of cheating with AI, as many educators are afraid of. And this is a very difficult question because how do we know where to draw that line between what's cheating and what isn't? Because if you take if you take a prompt and you put it into an AI platform and you take that entire essay output and turn that in, well, that should be considered cheating. But then where does that line get drawn in the middle from helping you revise or edit to completely having it right for you? So, Kent, do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yes. So for me, I think of when AI can be cheating, it is copying what the AI said, like write me a essay and then it will just give you it and then you could just paste it onto this platform where you have to do your homework or something. But that is called cheating. But getting feedback from AI is not cheating. It's just getting help and you let yourself learn from AI. Cheating has no learning, so that means it's cheating. Uh, but when it's not cheating, it is can be very helpful and you could get better at writing essays or something. Maybe I could say like, I want to know a way to do 43 times 71. I don't know the answer right now because I can't do my mental calculations, but it could help a lot. But if you cheat, tell me what 73 times 48 is. You don't even learn. It's just a calculator. It's like you're using a calculator just to cheat.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Soham, do you want to talk a little bit about the gray area, kind of going off of what Kent was saying?
Yeah, of course. So at Students for Innovation, we think about AI use as a gray area, as a spectrum between academic dishonesty and positive use of tools. It's a quite large spectrum because there are so many different things you can do on that spectrum that may or may not be considered cheating. For example, where does rephrasing a single sentence lie versus two sentences? How about three? How about four? At what point does rephrasing a sentence go from grammar help to rephrasing an entire essay, right? So what we realize at Students for Innovation is that it's super important to think critically about the AI gray area when it comes to cheating and not just create an AI ban or an AI use, and instead think about nuance in guidelines and nuance in approaches to making sure that this gray area is communicated effectively to students and teachers.
Exactly. So, going off of what Soham was saying, I want to talk a little bit about cheating. So, like I was talking about earlier, teachers are afraid that cheating is increasing because of AI. But in fact, that isn't entirely true because there's a very famous Stanford study that shows that cheating rates are already high and they have been high. And it compared a pre-AI and a post-AI cheating rates with a study. And it showed that cheating rates haven't really changed. They've stayed the same and they've been extremely high with around 60 to 70% of students cheating. So this shows us that AI isn't really the problem here, and neither are the students. So really what is the problem is the methods that teachers are using to assess students. And so that's why we at Students for Innovation believe that there's a reassessment of testing that's needed to help students learn and focus on that learning aspect rather than just what the results are, which is why cheating is so motivating for students.
And we have some really interesting solutions on this, which is instead of a uniform ban on policy or uniform ban on AI, we believe that every teacher should be familiar enough with AI technology such that they create their own assignment by assignment guidelines, where AI use is communicated at the teacher's discretion, clearly, of course, but there isn't the same AI use guidelines for an essay, as for a slideshow, as for a take-home homework assignment. Each of these assignments should have different assignment by assignment guidelines, all curated by the teacher. That's super important because it allows flexibility. It allows for the teacher themselves to take it allows the teacher themselves to take into account their own understanding of AI and make choices for themselves. It allows for better communication between students and teachers and allows for a more dynamic classroom environment. This will also allow students to learn about AI because a teacher can't just outright ban AI on every assignment. Instead, a teacher will vary AI use, which is very helpful and substantial when it comes to actually implementing AI, a policy in the classroom.
Yeah, exactly. And one of these solutions that I want to explain a little bit more about is the idea of process over product. So if teachers use that learning process to assess how much a student has learned, it allows students to use AI as a tool because teachers aren't grading the final product that comes out that is that does involve AI, but rather the learning process that students have gone through that they can use AI during. And maybe this includes students submitting logs, conversation logs with AI as a part of their submission, because that part of that feedback, talking with the AI and trying to figure out how to improve upon their writing or upon their assignment is just so important to the learning process, and it actually increases creativity of students.
And ultimately, we just mentioned this before, but regardless of any guidelines or policy, the only way you can ensure like real development in the classroom, real decline of cheating rates, and proper use of AI tools is proper communication and incentivized communication, where a student will go to their teacher and explain their AI use, where a teacher will be very forthcoming on how they think AI should be used in the classroom. Proper communication is the only way we can restore a semblance of trust in the classroom environment.
Exactly. And we believe that communication really does start with a teacher, because when we walk into class on the first day and the teacher lays out their guidelines for the year, what they expect from their students, AI should be talked about on that very first day. It shouldn't be something that's kind of just going unsaid, because then that leaves students confused with a lot of questions. And that's what causes all these problems where some students are like using AI a lot while others aren't using it because they think that they will get in trouble for using it. And so on that first day, teachers need to explain that on every assignment they're going to have guidelines about AI and focus on these assignment by assignment guidelines that they use throughout the year. But AI should not be something that's shied away from. It should be talked about, and there should be open discussion from both sides, from the student's perspective and from the teachers. And so to facilitate this and to help teachers, we've actually created a resource of conversation starters that help teachers talk with their students about how to use AI in the classroom. And these include questions that teachers can pose to students to get the students' perspectives too and start a discussion, as well as some scenarios that the teacher can put up and discuss with their students. And so we have a teaser on our website, as well as the ability to get the full resource. You just have to put your email in, which I'm sure you have an account already if you're on this or if you're watching this. So now let's talk about what schools can do. Let's start with Ken. What do you think schools can do to support AI literacy?
Well, for me, we could make a club like here in Cantico Hills called AI Club. It is where we use AI to do lots of things like machine learning or all sorts of things. We just started the club, so we didn't do too much right now. So we're right now starting to learn the basics, maybe like prompting, maybe. And we were able to teach other kids who don't have any experience about AI. One thing I did with AI or with AI Club is machine learning. And we were able to teach AI, or only some people, how to use, how to show AI which is which and which is that. So maybe like I might ask is this picture a car or is this picture a motorcycle? And yeah, we were training AI to find the answer. And not and we also made this thing called Innovation Club. We were doing lots of innovative things, and we are also getting closer to doing a conference about Innovation Club. And I hope you are going to come to this conference on Tuesday. It will be so much fun, and we were also learning how to use VRs, and yeah, we are actually thinking of teaching teachers how to use VRs. And we did lots of other things like motivational videos. We watched lots of motivational videos on uh, our teams, but right now YouTube is blocked for us, so we're pretty sad that we can't show kids these motivational videos. We also do lots of other stuff like teaching kids how to use the um, technology, sneak peek on my presentation, and lots of other stuff.
Yeah, that's great. So, in case anyone missed it, Kent was talking about the conference. Their innovation club has a session on Tuesday, and we'll talk about it a little bit more when we talk about our upcoming schedule. So definitely don't miss that because Kent has a lot prepared for you guys. What about you, Ocean? What do you think schools can do to support AI literacy?
I think schools can support AI literacy by in class, like it goes from like in second grade you don't really learn about AI that much, and then in third grade you learn about AI a lot, but then in fourth grade it just like stops and you don't really get to learn about it. And but then when you go back to fifth grade it starts back up. I don't think that's right, because if it kind of takes away your learning, because like if in say in second grade it's fine, in third grade you learn about AI, but if you stop learning in fourth grade you're gonna forget the stuff you learned in third grade, and then when you get to fifth grade, the fifth you're gonna be learning more advanced stuff and you're not gonna be ready because you forgot the stuff you learned in third grade.
Exactly. So, like with any subject, whether it's like math or English or anything, we want to make sure that we're constantly reviewing everything we've learned, right? So, AI is just like that. And AI literacy is just like another subject almost that we need to learn and make sure students are incorporating or that is incorporated in class. That's great.
Yeah, there's also a conference on Friday. You should come.
Yeah, exactly. There's another AI in the classroom with a bunch of elementary students like Kent and Ocean. So that's another great conference session to come to.
There's
So
lots of conferences upcoming, so I hope you watch all of them.
yeah. So we want to open it up really quickly for a few questions. You can put them in the chat. We would love to answer them. They can be for Soham and I or for the students as well. I'm sure they would love to answer a few questions. So put them in the chat. In the meantime, we can continue and talk a little bit about the rest of the summit this week. So again, we just want to thank School AI for all their support throughout the way and their sponsorship for us later this year. Um, and thank you to the students for joining us for this presentation. And so we also want to address, we have the request for proposals for next year's summit that is now open. So as an educator, if you know any students who are really passionate about innovation like us, it doesn't have to be about AI, it can be about anything. This week we have many different presentations about coding in the classroom or diplomacy, financial literacy, and any type of innovation that a student wants to add to a classroom. That's what these summits are all about. So definitely have them go to our website or give us their email, and have them fill out the request for proposal because we would love to have even more students presenting for us next year. And then this is, like we talked about earlier, starting a chapter and joining the leadership team. And like I said earlier, School AI is sponsoring us to come all the way to ISTE, ASCD this year in June. And so if you are there, definitely come see our session. We're talking about how AI can be used in writing to think and not just replace thinking, but to actually help thinking and have more creativity in students. So it'll be a workshop style, and we'll actually be having the audience members work with AI during the workshop, which is very different than our usual presentation. So we're really excited for that. And then finally, we just want to put up our schedule for the rest of this week. We're really excited. We have many different presenters. So tomorrow we are having a 11th grader talk about diplomacy in the classroom. And then on Tuesday, we have what Kent was talking about, Innovation Club with a few students who have done a lot really at school. So you can hear about that from Kent and his peers. And then we also have financial literacy in the classroom. We have an 11th grader talking about that. And then on Wednesday, we have a group of students, a great group of students from Quest Academy, and they're going to talk about personalized learning, which is interesting. And then, like I was talking about for the ISTE, we have a similar conference or similar session about how AI can be used in writing on Thursday. It will be Soham and I presenting on that one. And then what Ocean was saying is the AI in the elementary classroom on Friday, as well as a coding for teaching girls to code on Friday as well. And then finally, we actually are really excited because we're having an international presenter. Namya from India is actually presenting to for us about game-based lesson plans in the future. So that's the plan for the rest of this week. And hopefully you'll be able to attend as many of these sessions as possible. And even if you're not able to attend live, there are going to be recordings for everything. So thank you so much for listening to us today. Let me see. I think there was a question in the chat. Um, what do you think of the Alpha School, the school that uses AI apps for 2 hours a day and then has mentors focus on life skills for the rest of the day? Soham, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, I've actually looked into Alpha School and a lot of the homeschooling alternatives extensively, and I think at the current moment in education, I don't think um AI alone is the best paradigm for education. I do think human in the loop, and like I would even argue like AI use accompanied by a teacher is much more important. And I also think being taught life skills directly by a mentor is not the same as learning life skills of your own volition through like being in a social environment, being near your peers, being near people your age. So I think in the future, an alpha school model could work if we continue to foster social environments. But I think there's a lot of work that must be done before alpha school will truly be the next paradigm of education. And Ocean, I think you want to continue.
Yeah. So it like in my old school, I learned a bunch of like skills that for life, but that those were different skills. They were like skills about the outside. So in this school, we just go to the cafeteria for lunch to get food. But in my old school, we didn't really do that. We made our own lunch. Like we usually made soup because it was hard to make other things, but we sometimes made other things.
Yeah. What did you think about that? Did you like that better, or what do you think about
I
um
like I like them both in the same amount because it like they both like basically taught the same things but in a different way and different things in a different way, but I can't really explain, but it's more they both taught different things, so I can't really choose between both.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's awesome. So, if there aren't any more questions, I think that that wraps it up for today. But if you have any other questions over the next few days, or if you want to talk more, this is our email and our website. And that's about it. So thank you so much for coming to watch this presentation. We hope you'll be at the next few this week.